Okay, so in this video, we're gonna be using Vil to create a backdoor. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do list to list the available tools, and I'm gonna use number 1 because we want to use evasion. And then I'm gonna list my payloads. And like I said in the previous lecture, I want to use Go Meterpreter Reverse HTTPS. So that's number 15. So I'm gonna do use 15. And that's gonna list first of all, it's gonna show me information about this particular payload, and then it'll show me the options that I can set for this payload. So the main option that you wanna set, and the most important one, is the IP address. So this is the IP address which you're gonna be receiving the connections on. As we said, we're gonna have a reverse connection, and we need to set the IP address which the payload or the backdoor will try to connect back to. And in our case, we want to receive the connection back to this Kali machine. So we're gonna set the IP lhost to the IP address of the current Kali machine. Now to get the IP of my Kali machine, I have to run ifconfig. So I'm gonna split the screen by doing right click and click on split horizontally. And I'm just gonna bring this down a bit. And we're gonna run ifconfig. Now you can see the IP address in here is 10.20.14.213. This is the IP of my Kali machine. This is the IP of the machine that I'm using as the attacking machine. So this is where I want the connection to come back to, so I can hack the target computer once the backdoor is executed. So I'm gonna set lhost to 10.20.14.213. So you can set any of these options using the set command. So all you have to do is write set followed by the option that you want to change. So in this case, we want to change the lhost, and we want to change that to 10.20.14.213. Now, the L port is set to 80, which is really good because that's the port that's used by web servers. So as I said, the connection will look as if the target person is connecting to a website, and it's not going to be suspicious. But I don't want to use that port because I'll have a web server running on this, and we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to change that to 8080. 8080 is another port that's used by web servers, so it's still not suspicious, and it should still bypass firewalls. So I'm just going to do set. Same way that we did it before with the lhost, we're going to do lport to the value that we want to set this option to, and we're going to set it to 8080. Now, if I do options again to list all the options, you'll see that the lhost changed to 10.20.14.213 and the lport changed to 8080. Now, if you generate the backdoor like this, you will bypass all antivirus programs except AVG. I've already tried this, that's how I know this, and that's not good enough because we want to bypass everything. Now, the way antivirus programs work is they have a very large database of signatures. These signatures correspond to files that contain harmful code. So what they do is they compare the signature of your file, of your backdoor, to all the files in this huge database. If your file matches any of these files, then they'll flag it as a virus or as malware. If it doesn't, then they'll think that it's a normal file and it's not malware. So the main point in here is we're gonna try to modify the file, our backdoor, as much as possible to make it more unique so that it bypasses the signature database and will be able to bypass antivirus programs. Now, as I said, Vil is already doing that for us. It's encrypting the backdoor, it's obfuscating it, it's injecting it in the memory so that it doesn't get detected, and it's doing a good job at it. It's bypassing pretty much everything except for only one antivirus program. So just to bypass this last antivirus program, I'm gonna set some optional options that really won't do much of a difference. They'll just make the backdoor look a bit different. So the first thing that I'm gonna modify is processors. And that's the minimum number of processors to be used by the backdoor. I'm not gonna set a huge number because that'll just make my backdoor not work. I'm just gonna set it to 1, which is pretty much nothing really, but I'm just going to set this option to make the code look a bit different. So I'm going to do set. Again, the same way that we are setting the L port and the L host, we're just going to put the option name, which is processors. And we're going to set that to number 1. And I'm also going to set another option, which is the sleep option. And that basically lets the backdoor sleep for a number of seconds that you set before it executes the evil code that you have in there, before it executes the payload. So I'm going to set this to 6. Again, no real reason for this. I'm only doing this to make the backdoor look a bit different. So I'm going to do set sleep to 6. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to do options again to make sure that all the options are set the way I want them to be. So I have my IP address set properly. I have my L port. I have my processors. And I have my sleep. So I'm going to generate the backdoor. And now it's asking me to name this backdoor something. So I'm going to name this backdoor rev HTTPS 8080. Just so that we can remember which payload and which port to use for this backdoor in the future. Now the backdoor is generated, and you can see it's telling us the module that's used, and it's telling us where the backdoor is stored. So the backdoor is stored in this path right here. So I'm going to copy that. Let's go ahead and check to see if the backdoor is detected by any antivirus programs. Now you can use the built-in feature by Vil using the check VT command, but this feature only uses the signature of the file, and it's not 100% accurate. Sometimes it tells you that the file will bypass all antiviruses, but it'll actually be detected. You can also use VirusTotal, but I don't recommend that, and please don't do that, because if you do that, your backdoor will become less effective, because VirusTotal share the results of their scans with antivirus programs. What we're going to do is we're going to use a website called Undetectable. So we're going to go to it now. So I'm just going to Google for Undetectable. And what this is going to do, it's similar to VirusTotal. The only difference is it's not going to share the scan results with antivirus programs, so it won't affect your backdoor. So I'm going to click on Browse to navigate to my file. And I'm just going to copy where the file is stored. So Vil is telling me now it's stored in this location in user share Vil output compiled. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to come here. I'm going to click on the pen. And I'm going to paste the location. I'm going to click on open. And scan the file. Now, as you can see, I've already scanned this file, and it's telling me that this file has been scanned before. So I'm just going to click on View Previous Results. And as you can see, the file is actually scanned on the same day as today, which is the 29th of March, 2017. And as you can see, the file is bypassing all antivirus programs. So we can use this backdoor against any device, and we'll be sure that the device or the computer will not be able to detect this file as a virus. Now there's a few things to keep in mind. Antivirus programs always update their database, and Vil always update their code as well. So you want to always make Vil up to date. Also, sometimes with the same exact backdoor, it might get detected and it might not get detected, because depending on the way the backdoor is getting encrypted and it's getting generated. I've actually generated this backdoor before with no sleep, and as I said, it got detected by one antivirus program. I generated with 10 seconds and it still got detected, and then with 6 it was able to bypass it. So you want to keep playing around with the options, you want to keep playing around with the payloads until you manage to achieve the best results so that you can bypass as much antivirus programs as possible.